Yes, very, very happy
Were you
indeed.
surprised at the margin of the win, or was this something that you expected?
It's something that we expected because we campaigned on issues. We campaigned on the problems that Malawians are facing and on our manifesto. So it has been a very good campaign, and we knew that we were on course.
Mm. Some people are saying that this was not so much a vote for you, but a vote against the former President Chakwera. What's your take on that?
It was a combination of both. Indeed, there's a, a protest vote, but also you know that we forged an alliance.
Mm.
These are members of DPP and members of our Ford combined, and those undecided votes. The undecided votes are the ones who can call protest votes. So a combination of everything. That's what has brought down Chakwera.
And I mean, there's a lot to do. Do you think you can deliver? People are going to want to see things changing very quickly.
Yeah, you know that the problem in Malawi is one forex. Because of lack of forex, we are failing to import essential commodities like fuel, fertilizer, and medicine. So the first thing that we're going to do is to make our four Fs. That is forex, fertilizer, food, and fuel. So within 100 days, we are planning that we have to make sure that that is done.
Do you think that you are able? In fact, let me start this way. Do you think it was mismanagement rather that created the crises that Malawians are facing? Or could there have been other factors, global factors, which you now have to deal with?
Yes, global factors are affecting every country. It's not only Malawi, but mismanagement, lack of vision, that's what brought us to our knees in Malawi.
All right, so perhaps you can tell us what you see your role as a second vice president. What will be your primarily responsibilities in this administration?
In fact, in Malawi, as vice president, you're also given a ministerial position, which uh, you always had. What happens is that as second vice president is to make sure that whatever we have promised our people, it has to be done. Secondly, is just to beef up the presidency to make sure that we are focused and we are ready to deliver.
So your appointment comes as part of this DPP Afford alliance. What concessions or guarantees were made to Afford to make this deal happen, and how will you ensure that your party's agenda is meaningfully advanced in this alliance?
Yeah, you know that AFORD is an independent political party, and our constitution provides the office of second vice president when there's a crisis. A crisis, they mean political or economic. So Malawi has a serious economic crisis. The economy is in tatters. So we need to put our heads together. So the beefing up is not only in ministries, but even the presidency to make sure we are focused, we have the right policies to deliver. We agreed so many things, 60-40 arrangement, but that can change because all the time in politics is a give and situation. But at the moment, we are on course to make sure that we deliver whatever we promise to Malawians.
You talked about the four F's, and I guess the agricultural sector critically important because food security is under stress from climate extremes, droughts, floods, and Cyclone Freddy aftermath. What actual strategy is there in place to support farmers, maybe, and ensure food availability and security?
Yeah, first, what we're going to do is to focus on the production,
Mm,
especially maize production. And also, we are want to make sure that also we introduce winter cropping so that we can produce 2 or 3 times a year. And also, as far as the farm inputs are concerned, we need to introduce what we call loan input program so that every Malawian, every able Malawian is able to access inputs and produce maize. In that way, after a year, you find out that we have doubled or tripled the production of maize, which means what is going to happen is we'll have enough food, but also enough export. We're also going to bring forex. So this is our program. This is our strategy to make sure that there's food security in the country, which is paramount.
mm.
That's the first thing that we're going to do.
How long will it take for you to stop the fuel queues?
We are looking at between 3 to 4 months. It will be history.
Mm. Um, I'm curious about your view, the role of regional and international partners, maybe donors, financial institutions in Malawi's recovery. Is this something that you've sat down and discussed, and how your government's going to engage with them differently going forward?
Yeah, you see, our foreign policy doesn't change much. There are just few areas that we are going to change, but it doesn't change much. We have traditional partnership with the Western countries, the British, the Americans, and the other Western countries, the Scandinavian countries.
All right, it looks like we've lost Mr. Chihana there. We're going to try and get him back on the line, but he's talking to us about mismanagement. Let's see if he's back on the line. Mr. Chihana, you were telling us how you're going to change your approach when it comes to dealing with donors, financial institutions. What might be different compared to the last administration?
It won't be much because we have a traditional relationship with the Western countries, and it's going to continue different. And also, we have a very good relationship with Asia. We are looking at China, Japan, and other Asian countries. So that is going to continue as well.
This partnership, this alliance, some people are looking at Peter Mutharika and are fearful that this might just be Peter Mutharika 2.0, and the Peter Mutharika before, the one they got rid of in terms of voting him out, is going to have to change his way of governance and running the country. Are you going to make sure that that happens, that there's a new version of administration?
I think once bitten, twice shy. Um, it's always a learning process, and I think his approach this time is going to be totally different, because it's a total.
All right. Sadly, there the line has dropped us there with Mr. Chihana, the second vice president elect for Malawi, and he, of course, comes to the alliance with the DPP with his party Afford. And he will be the second vice president of Malawi. And he says, once bitten, twice shy, so that this Mutharika administration should be stronger and perhaps a little bit more focused. Sadly, we didn't get to talk about things like corruption, which I think was something that President Chakwera was accused of in terms of not dealing with it in his current administration, in his outgoing administration. He had promised to root it out, but there were accusations that he was slow and sometimes didn't take enough action in certain areas. The former administration of Peter Mutharika itself was accused of corruption and allegations of corruption, misuse of state resources, and controversies that in the end led to the 2019 annulment of his election. So one wonders if there will be a change. What we know for sure is that Malawians are now not afraid to express themselves, and he will get told and he will find out. I've got a feeling that the youth are not going to put up with anything going forward. So we'll be watching, and we'll be reporting for you on the ground in Malawi.
Your morning companion with the stories that matter. This is Rise and Shine on Channel Africa.
All right, let's continue to unpack this particular story now and take a look at maybe one of the biggest issues, which really has been the state of the economy. And can this new administration do something better than the past one? Let's speak to Chief Economist and Director of Economic Research and Strategy, Chifa Mhango. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Always good to talk to you.
Thank you very much, Peter, and good morning to your listeners across the continent.
So, Malawians, they don't want to stand in queues for fuel anymore. They want inflation to slow down, and they want food on the table. Can this administration do something that the last administration wasn't able to?
Well, if one looks at their manifesto, because I had a very good interest in terms of diving deep into the manifesto of the Democratic Progressive Party, as well as the alliance partners, the Alliance for Democracy. It answers the issues that the country is facing, both on the monetary policy side, fiscal policy side, as well as the social sector side, and also on the industrial and trade policy side of them, or in terms of the challenges Malawi is facing. So they have got a good story to tell on the manifesto side with regard to the challenges the country is facing. We must remember now the issue that the country is facing is more around the economic mismanagement, which has led to the issues that the country is facing in terms of the symptoms, which are the fuel and also which are the fertilizer challenges, which are also the food challenges the country is facing. So realistically, I think their manifesto is got a good story to tell.
Good story to tell. Mismanagement, as you said, in the last administration. This one comes in with an alliance, and my experience of alliances is that a lot of favors need to be played, and managing alliances can be difficult at the best of times. How challenging will it be for President Mutharika to do the economics that he wants to, given that he's in an alliance and perhaps won't have it 100% of his own way, and also there's political favors that need to be paid out?
Well, a leader has to be visionary, and a leader has to commit to the will of the people of Malawi in terms of the promises. So you have to sail through around those elements to say, are you there for the political appeasement or are you there for the people? I think the key element is about how he's going to appoint his first cabinet. It is going to be based on merit or it's going to be based on political appeasement. I think people will be watching those elements. So it's quite crucial that he sticks to the mandate which has been given, and that of praising the people of Malawi than praising his political bodies. I think it's one of the crucial elements that any leader has to sail through in a challenging environment politically. But I think he's got a strong mandate. The man has been there as a president before. He will be taking lessons from the past in terms of where the mistakes were, and also sustaining where the positive elements were in terms of the previous administration. So he's coming in with an advantage of experience and advantages of how he managed the processes of political maneuvering with regard to the management of the Malawi economy, but also in terms of fulfilling his promises to the people of Malawi.
The administration will only be as good as its team. Do we have any clues perhaps who's going to be taking up key ministries like finance, economics, and are they up for the job if we have an idea who they might be?
Well, I think that would be more or less like entering the space of what we call it's a prerogative of the president to appoint ministers. But I think if one looks at from the previous administration of his team, most of these team members that were there before are still fairly there in terms of his political party. They have stood up with him in terms of the turbulent political environment his party has faced. So you can have an indication that no, those who are, for example, Minister of Finance before, maybe it could be the same person who was there as a Minister of Finance. We had a person like Manambeka there who was a Minister of Finance, and I think he's got a good track record in terms of his background in terms of the Finance Department or Ministry of Finance in Malawi. So you can speak up and say, no, these could be the element of indication. I think the Finance Ministry and Trade Industrial Policy side, Minister of Trade and Industry, are the key portfolios in terms of dealing with the challenges Malawi economy is facing. So we leave it to him. I think ours is about judging him on the point of view of whether it will be merit-based appointment or political-based appointment. But I think, as I said before, the track record speaks for itself in terms of his way he managed the country from his point of view of appointment. Yes, there were some challenges before, which centered around the issues of nepotism. So we are expecting that no, he will divert away from that principle of nepotism.
So if you were in his cabinet and he made you economics minister or finance minister, what do you think you'd be able to achieve in the first 100 days? Because a lot of people will use that as a milestone of what might happen and what could be done. What are low-hanging fruit that can be fixed quite quickly?
Well, I think there are three stages here. One is to deal with the monetary policy environment. So, for instance, as you mentioned earlier on, inflation rate in Malawi is sitting at 28%. Interest rates at 26% in terms of the Reserve Bank lending rate. You've got forest issues whereby the import cover is sitting at less than 10 days. So those are the first issues that one has to deal with in terms of the fixing the economy. Dealing with the issue of inflation has got the element of how you manage the fiscal policy. It's got element in terms of how you divert your portfolio in terms of investment into the economy, and also dealing with issues of import-based kind of consumption into the economy. So that element can actually be addressed from that perspective. And also on the forex side, then one has to look at in terms of how best you can position the country from the point of view of export expansion into new markets. Exports actually give in an element of pushing your reserves from the forex perspective. So element of diversification for your trade basket will actually be key into new markets, but also into expanding your products on the international market. But then on the fiscal side, one has to look at in terms of element of reckless expenditure, which has been the ongoing problems in Malawi. So dealing with issues of unnecessary international travel by civil servants, or both locally as well as domestically, the culture of allowances, which has actually, in a way, eroded the fiscal capacity of Malawi in terms of expenditure. But also you're looking at expenditure into a productive base of the economy, which is infrastructure investment. I think one of the key areas there is about the roads development. You look at the health sector, you look at also education sector, and we also look at the housing sector. But also on the point of view of dealing with issue of the industrial and trade policy perspective, obviously it's about creating a space for more investment into the economy with regard to value addition. For example, on the agriculture side of Malawi, there's a lot of raw materials that can be used in the industrial production of Malawi. You're looking at maize production towards cereals, for example. You look at production of beans from the agriculture side into baked beans, for instance. You're looking at the fruits production into juices and jam. You're looking at tomatoes production into tomato sauces and so forth. So I think there is quite a number of opportunities that Malawi can expand its value-added production side of the economy. The aim is about reducing the negative trade balance, which has been a dominant feature in the Malawi economy for over 20 years. So it's about creating space towards a positive trade balance where there's more exports than imports into the economy.
How quickly can this economy start to create jobs, especially for young people? Because that, I think, is probably going to be one of the biggest pressures this administration will face.
I think if one has to apply his economic sense in terms of some of the recommendations some of us have done, for instance, it can only take within 6 months in terms of fixing the Malawi economy. As long as you stick to the program, the milestones, and also the people that you appoint into the positions, it's a key factor in terms of enabling the country to move forward. So a merit-based appointment becomes a crucial element in terms of fixing the Malawi economy from the point of view of how the economy can be managed with the right people in the right positions.
Fiscal discipline and managing corruption. Do you think this administration will get on top of that?
Well, I think they have got lessons to learn from the past on the issue of debt management, on the issue of corruption. Corruption can only be handled if you are decisive in terms of the consequences of those that have been alleged to be doing corruption. So it's a key factor. The biggest problem I've had in Malawi is that it's selective justice where you ignore those that have been alleged to be involved in corruption and you still keep them in high-level positions in government. So dealing with that decisively would be a key factor. Element of debt management, I think, also becomes a key factor in terms of structuring of the debt, but also in terms of utilizing the debt that you get into a productive side of the economy. Here I'm referring to, for instance, in terms of where you spend your money when you're going to go and get loans for any kind of developmental agenda. So if you get a loan and then which is supposed to be done for, let's say, towards roads, and then you start now using that loan to payment of salaries and so forth, then it becomes unproductive. So moving away from consumption-based debt to productive-based debt. Productive-based debt will mean that getting involved with the debt which supports the economic transformation of Malawi towards investment into infrastructure. For instance, roads is one of the key elements. Railway development, energy side of the economy is very key in terms of enabling the economy towards progression.
And that's where we'll leave it. Thank you very, very much indeed, painting us a potentially new story for Malawi. Let's just hope that the promises made are the ones that will be promises kept. Dr. Chifiba Mhango, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Always good to hear your voice.
Thank you very much, Peter.
Thank you. That's Dr. Chifiba Mhango, who is a prominent Malawian economist, currently serving as Chief Economist and Director of Economic Research and Strategy at Don Consultancy Group, saying that Malawi has an opportunity. Lessons must be learned from the past, and that if advice is taken and the right things are done, one can see results in the country in the short term. It's 8:30. My goodness. It's 8:30, which means it's time for your news headlines. Here's Onele Nsinzi.
SABC News.